Today we're going to be looking at the potential and the enjoyment of Encased, a sci-fi post-apocalyptic role-playing game by Dark Crystal Games. Thanks to Kickstarter, it has become available to play in early access in 2019. There's even a roadmap displayed in-game showing just how far they've come and what you can expect to play when the game develops further. The story goes that a mysterious dome was discovered in the 1970s, and improvements to our technologies became possible because we were exploring this dome and investigating its potential. The corporation Kronos was discovered to manage the exploration and research of the dome. The game begins with you becoming a newly employed worker bee of the Kronos facility, and you're sent over to the dome for assignment, where our story begins. Just like any other great role-playing game, you're able to create your own character. If you've played a game like Fallout or The Elder Scrolls, you should be very comfortable with this. You'll be used to creating your own hideously disfigured character and locking in skill points and attributes to play to the style you want to. You have attributes, you have secondary stats, skills, and resistances. And at first you'll be able to choose a wing, a specific color of the Kronos wings that helps dictate the molds that your character's gonna take on, and what skills, attributes, and abilities you have a buff in, and some that you might actually have negative impacts from. Selecting a specific wing also gives your character a nice little backstory, and will dictate how you're perceived in the dome, your reputation, so to speak. Now that being said, the wing you choose does open up specific options and availabilities to you. Orange wing members will trust you more for other criminal enterprises or activities. Black wing members will give you more respect for being one of them. And if you're a black wing member, it's going to be quite difficult to get through to an orange member because they just won't trust you. The orange wing is based off of a criminal backstory, the white wing is based off a scientific backstory, and the black wing is based off of a mercenary story. The blue wing consists of your builders and engineers. The silver wing consists of diplomats and managers, analogous to the silver tongue metaphor. Now, along with the boost, you're actually able to tag 3 skills before you start the game to get a bonus in those specific areas, which allows you to acquire abilities faster. Now, speaking of abilities, instead of other games that give you perks or upgrade trees as you advance with experience points, you'll unlock ability points in the top right area next to the specific skills. And with these ability points earned, you'll be able to unlock new abilities as you go through the game. They act like perks. Now, it has the ambition to provide a lot of abilities available to you, but for the time being in this early access patch, there's only a handful of abilities available per skill. When you start the game in Magellan Station, it's going to serve as a tutorial for you and a prologue to your adventure in the Wasteland. You'll learn how to gain easy experience like lockpicking or busting open vending machines, scanning artifacts and relics for experience, and also learning about dangers like anomalies and how to avoid them, and how to successfully maneuver and handle combat. Magellan Station does a great job of serving as a tutorial to help the player survive in the Wasteland. The game's map and UI is surprisingly useful, and I quite enjoy the art style of it. You never really feel lost and everything's laid out for you quite well. Moving on to the meat of Encased, the gameplay, if you've played anything isometric role-playing wise like Fallout, this should be quite familiar. You've got the ability to see from above and plan out your movements. You've got your action bar, your hotkey bar, your equipped weapons, your attack types, and also a portrait of your character showing your health and your buffs and debuffs. You move around by simply clicking along the map and using WASD or simply scrolling around. It's enjoyable because if you're familiar with this game style, moving the character and the camera should be no problem to you at all. Now, moving on to the combat of this sci-fi RPG, you need to know that it's completely turn-based. It's easy to learn and quite straightforward, but it's also slightly unforgiving, with things like unjamming your weapon or healing yourself mid-combat takes up action points. And you need those action points to be able to move around the combat area, attack your enemies, or use abilities. Even reloading your weapon costs action points. So just because it's easy to actually pick up and understand the basics of this combat formula, it can become difficult to master, especially if you're outnumbered. Now, what can you do to strengthen your character? Well, different items that you find in the world can add buffs to your characters. Eating, sleeping, resting can all give you an advantage, and neglecting these things can also hinder your experience. So just like any good role-playing game, you've got quite a lot of variables to take into consideration. Now, I spoke of an unforgiving experience earlier, but getting out into the wasteland itself can be merciless. I found myself at times needing medkits, food, water, and not finding a single thing. So be prepared and proactive before you go out into the wasteland. You won't feel like the powerhouse that you did in Fallout 4. Like any good role-playing game, Encased, and specifically within Magellan Station, hosts quite a bit of unique characters, with their own dialogue options, their own reactions, and personalities. The character writing's definitely done well here, and a lot of time and effort was put into this so that every NPC feels like their own person. Magellan Station is also a great place to learn about errands and side quests. Like any good role-playing game, Encased allows you to take on multiple side quests, along with your main quests, to gain more experience and to learn the stories of characters not relevant to the main plot. You could be diplomatic and helpful, or cunning and sinister, but either way it allows you to play politics. Interacting with different factions and characters gives you quite a lot of options, and replaying the current Early Access patch as a different wing member allows you to interact with characters in different ways and experience the story from a different perspective. But the good news is the character balance, because replaying the game multiple times as different wings with different skills and abilities that I chose, I always found myself having a good time, and I was able to enjoy the game experience a different way than what I had done last time. Currently, the game has about 10 hours of dedicated gameplay, which makes me excited for the long haul and how beefy the final product will probably be. And by playing this game multiple times, I found myself enjoying taking my time. I wanted to interact with side characters. I wanted to take on more options for myself. The game never felt boring. Now, the game world might seem quite small right now, but it's packed to the brim with content. So there's a lot of options, discoverability, and ways to play. Now, the game isn't without its faults. In its current state, I couldn't even make the game go into full screen. There's stuttering, lagging, and quite a lot of hitching, and annoying bugs, like being stuck in combat, regardless of how far away I went from the aggressive characters. However, I experienced no crashes or locks in my time with Encased. Now, I'm sure with the current roadmap and the other patches that should be coming out before the release, we should see an overall improvement to the optimization. And we even have some team members on the development team of Encased that had worked on Divinity 1 and 2. So I do have faith in the development and the prowess of the final product. Everything that I'm currently seeing in Encased leads me to believe that the base and foundation of the game is already extremely strong. And with the development cycle ongoing, and much more to be added with the final product, I'm more than optimistic about its potential. If you're a fan of isometric role-playing games, I would at the very least keep this game on your wish lists and under your eye. If you're a hardcore fan of role-playing games, I say the game is quite worth it in its current state. And I believe most bugs and optimization problems should be ironed out by the final release. With that being said, I definitely want the team to take their time. The potential here is astounding, and nothing would break my heart more for this game to come out and feel rushed, broken, and that they gave up on it. In its current state in early access, I'm going to give Encased a 7.5. It's a great justice to role-playing game fans, tons of explorability and dialogue options, a lot of content and lore in quite a small current state environment, but the current bugs, glitches, and optimization issues hinder the current reputation of the game. Now, I'm sure by the final release these will be ironed out, but we need to be clear and concise of its current status based off of this early access patch. Thank you, my sinners, for joining me for my early access review of Encased, the sci-fi post-apocalyptic role-playing game. Let me know down in the comments below, guys. Are you excited for Encased? Have you played it, and what do you think of it? And if you haven't heard of it before, let me know what you think about what you saw today. If you're new to the channel, guys, definitely subscribe and hit that bell. And if you're feeling generous, a thumbs up always helps. Also, don't forget to check out the Patreon for new exclusive rewards for patrons. And until next time, my sinners, thank you so much. Bye-bye.